newspapers, simple dynamics on the news when he says certain things to you to keep you in check, the simple dynamics of how they set a precedent for how you behave with one another. They even can predict how you will react to one another based on how you are dressed, how you what jobs you have. They know what to say in specific workplaces to keep the tension alive, to keep you believing that you need to strive for ever greater things inside of that little cubicle. Your whole emotional structure is being diddled with, is being manhandled and woman-handled in such a way that you don't even understand that they have a puppeteer that's dancing, making your strings dance, pulling your strings, your emotional strings, your psychological strings, your psychic strings, your psycho-spiritual strings, your biopsychic strings. All of them are being manipulated by the very syntax that you speak. They have intercepted the conduits between the speech area of your brain and the actual voice box that expresses that talking and speaking. Between the speech center of your brain and your voice box, they have set up a lockdown code, which is called a ridge programming. And that ridge programming is set up as a bioelectronic field around your aura. And it sits on your aura, on the 5th ridge of your aura, right by your voice box, right by the blue energy. And it intercepts all thought patterns. And it even has the ability to shut down higher thinking modalities, because with higher thinking modalities, you begin to create different chemistries in order to encompass those higher thought processes. When those chemistries kick in, if they kick in at a specific level that goes beyond the lockdown, that particular chip, that vibratory chip, shuts down your thinking, and you forgot what the fuck was you was thinking about. You don't even remember what it was that you were thinking. I want to reminisce on something, because they're about to drop some heavy stuff, heavy code words on you about AIDS. It's coming back, and they're coming back with a vengeance, because they have been thwarted in their Global 2000 imperative. The information about AIDS is coming out. There's a man named Boyd E. Graves that has now found out what is known as the flow chart for the introduction of quote-unquote biological warfare upon the people. And that flow chart from the Pentagon matches exactly with the times that the news and the government put out information having to do with the AIDS spiking and reaching into certain communities. Like we just been fucking and everybody just started getting AIDS all of a sudden. But the flow chart shows from the time in the 1970s all the way up to the 1990s that the Pentagon was mapping and charting a biochemical warfare paradigm and a project against the people of color, or what they call the undesirables, or the useless eaters, as they're called. Okay? Now, I don't want anyone who has been listening to me speak about my view and my understanding of this AIDS trip, because just like what happened in Atlanta, what was said in the attack was scholarship is what we use versus you just saying something without proving it. Now, in the back of my book, I have over 153 references to my wounded womb. 153 references. Scholarship has two prongs for me. There is, how can I label it? Semantic and hypothetical scholarship, which comes from people having a dozen books on there and referring to some authority to give what they say weight. Then there is applied scholarship, which is what I do. For the past 26 years, I have been in the field of naturopathic medicine. And as a result, 80 to 90% of the people who have come to me have been women. And each one of them have had similar problems that would have had to have addressed or at least pointed to a similar cause. And I studied cause, not effects. And when you look into a book, that's effects. A book, if it does not lead you to the cause of something, doesn't do anything but intellectually masturbate you. If you are not applying scholarship, then you're just diddling with that with your pineal. You're just jerking your pineal off. I have applied through trial and error, through the application of certain principles that I have come to understand and read and in scholarship. I have applied it to those sisters and I have seen it work. I have seen women shrink and even pass their fibroids. I have seen women pass their tumors in their breasts. I have seen women summarily stop or even bring to 1 to 2 drops a month their menstrual cycles. So I am not just speaking from blowing hot air just to be angry and confrontative with women. That's bullshit. The sisters came to me for solutions. I went to find it, and some of the sisters, after I did find it, didn't want to hear it because they had forgotten all of what their ancestral mothers had taught them about how to stay healthy as a woman. We are different, and as a result of that, I applied that scholarship and saw the results, and that's why I could come out and say what I did. So in reminiscing and going back, I want you to understand that when you hear the information coming out from Boyd E. Graves about this protracted campaign to launch biochemical warfare against the people vis-a-vis or via AIDS, we have to put a little bit of an asterisk next to that. Because first and foremost, from this purview, there was no such thing as AIDS. There was no such thing as HIV, and until we understand the cause, we will constantly be looking for solutions to effects that would not exist if we eliminated the cause. So we have to become smarter and more intelligent and more knowledgeable about what this thing called AIDS is before we rush in and take another viewpoint that comes from somebody studying effects rather than studying archetypes and causes. So I am a student of cause. I study causes. I deal with effects as a second-hand afterthought. Because once you understand that this body is the instrument of the Most High, is the instrument of intelligence, then everything else is secondary. And you look primarily first to the body to find solutions, to find out what it is that the body wants to do based on its own intelligence, and you follow its lead. You don't come from some doctor. Just by, I keep telling brothers and sisters, why, if you are in the so-called alternative healing community, would you adopt the same phraseology, the same names, the same symptomatic jargon, of Western medicine and say, we have the alternative to that? That is an oxymoron. It is a contradiction in terms. You are not the alternative. If you are the alternative, then you are a bastardized stepchild of that which you now imitate. Where they have pharmaceutical targets, you now have vitamin targets. So you drug the people with vitamins and herbs in the same manner and in the same symptomatic crapshoot that doctors deal with. No, I do not. I do not want to even get in there, and that is what we call synthetic synchronicity. When you want to co-opt an idea whose time has come, You change the languaging to make the people believe it's something different.